Father who art in heaven, as a body we congregate in this council chambers for the betterment of our fellow citizens. Lead us that we may do all things well. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. DeBerke.
Present.
Mr. Ray Culberson.
Here.
Mr. Schultmeyer.
Present.
Mrs. Beddinghouse.
Here.
Mrs. Miller.
Here.
That's all that's
Let the
here.
record show that 5 members are present. I have been told that Ms. Housefeld will be late. Her mother's in the hospital, so she will, at some point, I think, be here. So. Members of council, what is your pleasure on the reading of the minutes of the last meeting?
Mr. President,
Ms. Beddinghouse?
I make a motion to dispense with the reading of the last council minutes.
Motion by Ms. Beddinghouse, second by Mr. DeBerke to dispense with the reading of the last minutes. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor of suspension signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Members of council, are there any errors or corrections to the minutes as submitted? If not, the minutes will stand as submitted. We'll move to reports of city officials. Mayor, Mr. Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just as a reminder, during the village holiday celebration on Saturday, December 4th, Santa and Mrs. Claus will be traveling around the village from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or whenever we get finished to spread our cheer. To make sure that you are able to use the Santa tracker, where you'll be able to see where Santa and Mrs. Claus will be. The link will be published on the village website, the village Facebook page, as well as the Recreation Department Facebook page. At 9:45 in the morning, Santa will go live and share his location, so be sure to share that with your friends. We'll be following the route that is available on the village website, so please share the link with your friends when we go live. Just to make sure that when Santa pulls up to your house, please listen for the siren. We'll be making plenty of noise so that you can hear us coming, and if by chance we miss you, please advance to another location, or you can call my cell phone directly because Santa did not want me giving out his cell phone. You can reach me at 513-543-3780, and we will make sure that Santa circles back to you. Also, Light Up St. Bernard will be on Saturday, December 18th, where the residents will place luminarias in front of their homes. The first opportunity to pick up your kits will be on Saturday, December 4th at the Rec Department during the village holiday celebration. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Auditor, Ms. Brickwig.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Auditor's Office has prepared Ordinance 19-2021 for tonight's meeting. Some of these were discussed at the Committee of the Whole. It is authorizing the additional appropriations of $36,700 to 7A3 for ambulance supplies. This was the life pack that the fire chief explained to you at the last meeting, and they're also putting in $24,307 into 7A8 fire maintenance equipment for fixing the fire truck. There is $100,000 additional to 2K2 miscellaneous. This is what we do at the end of the year since there's not there's not a regular council meeting at the end of the year. I'm doing it a little early because we had a major issue with some HSA kickbacks. Apparently Fifth Third Bank sold their HSA accounts and didn't inform their employees or that they would have different account numbers and different routing numbers, so they're all kicking back. So even though it went out, I need the money in a line item in miscellaneous to pay them their money so they can put it in their HSA account. So that's why I did that one a little early. 2K6 insurance, we had an issue with an ACH check issue, so we have to account for that. 20-01 CRF Corona expenses, that's the money we received this year, $227,100.30. And 50-01 employee accumulated sick, additional $10,000 just in case anybody cashes out their sick time by the end of the year. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any report from Director Lowell? No. Treasurer, Mr. Ungrue.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening I have the statement from First State Bank for the memorial fund that we have down there. The balance at the end of October 31st, 2021, totals $5,659.66. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I apologize. Can I circle back? Valerie will not be here this evening, as she's held up with dealing with an issue with her mother in Columbus, but she has prepared the resolution to be voted on this evening.
Okay, all right, thank you. Safety and Service Director, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. President. I usually do not report the duties that we complete throughout the year. However, it is interesting to me that I rented a stump grinder for a few stumps that the village needed to address. I decided to ask them to make a list first so we would not waste our time and money. We ended up doing 18 stumps. Thanks, Service Department. Another year is winding down. Most things went as I expected. Again, I tip my hat to all the employees. You sincerely lightened the load. To my community, lots of times I think of the word hope. Hope is in everybody's lives. We all wanting something to occur. Oh, by the way, hopefully it's for the betterment of you and someone else's life situations. When I think of hope, it is always with the two other words that go with it, faith and love. The reason I do this is to keep me in check so I don't only hope when I feel it is a dire situation. That is when most of us use hope, but it is good for nearly all circumstances. As in, I hope you have a wonderful holidays filled with faith, hope, and love. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Is there a report from the Tax Commissioner? Ms. Brickwig?
Yes, this is the Tax Commissioner's report. For October 2021 end-of-month receipts, tax collections for October were $932,983. October 2021 is up 4.8% from October of 2020. 400 residents still have not filed their 2020 St. Bernard tax returns. Please get those filed ASAP to avoid any assessments and or a possible judgment. The tax department's e-file portal is still accepting 2020 tax returns. Have a safe and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. That concludes her report.
Thank you. We'll move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. Taberky.
No report.
Thank you. Safety, Mr. Ray Culbertson.
Thanks, Mr. President. I really don't have anything to report on, but I'd like to say my thoughts and prayers go out to Councilmember Hausfeld and the entire Hausfeld family, and I hope for a speedy recovery with her mother. And I'd like to wish the residents a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Service, Mr. Schultmeyer.
No report.
Thank you. Is there a report from Public Improvements? Nothing from, okay. Laws, Contracts, and Claims, Ms. Bettinghouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee met last week, 11/16, to discuss two topics, short-term rentals and a medical marijuana dispensary proposal. For the short-term rentals, the mayor presented the committee and law director with some specific guidelines that he recommends to be included in an ordinance to regulate short-term rentals. The committee also received a few ordinances from other cities in Ohio to review. The committee will provide feedback to the law director by mid-December for recommendations of other guidelines or specific verbiage to be included in the ordinance. This ordinance should be ready to be presented at the COW meeting in January. For the medical marijuana dispensary that has been proposed to occupy a location in the village, that location is less than 500 feet from a park and will not qualify to be open for such business. I would like to place on the December committee a hold to discuss a potential ordinance for a 2-year moratorium on such a dispensary so that the proper zoning can be addressed. On the table tonight is Resolution Number 6, 2021, the non-discrimination resolution. If the resolution is approved, it will be sent to the Ohio legislature to support the state legislation for an Ohio Fairness Act that would be inclusive of the LGBTQ population. The Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee recommends passage of this resolution. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Marketing, Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Christmas in St. Bernard, as Mayor Suchel mentioned, will take place on Saturday, December 4th, 6 to 9 p.m. The events that will take place will be the tree lighting at 6 p.m. Pictures with Santa and Miss Claus will also be available using your own camera. Other activities and entertainment include carolers, petting zoo, Queen City Railers train display, cookies, and hot chocolate. Also, don't forget about the holiday light contests presented by the Village Pack. The trolleys will run from 6 to 9 p.m. Families can board the trolley outside of City Hall. Spectators are asked to place canned goods in the containers outside of their favorite decorated home. First place will be awarded to the home that receives the most canned goods. All canned goods collected will be forwarded to the St. Clement Food Pantry. Also, I have emailed out the request for newsletter submissions for our December newsletter. If everyone could please get their submissions sent no later than Wednesday, December 1st, that would be greatly appreciated. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Committee of the Whole, I believe Ms. Catherine has submitted that to Council and
Yes, Mr. President.
Administration. Thank you. Clerk, are there any communications this evening?
No, Mr. President.
None? All right. If you could give the first reading of Resolution Number 6, 2021.
Resolution number 6, 2021. A resolution supporting an inclusive St. Bernard and bipartisan Ohio Fairness Act and declaring an emergency.
Members of council, you've heard the first reading of Resolution Number 6, 2021. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to suspend with the second and third reading of Resolution Number 6, 2021.
Point of order, Mr. President. With only 5 people here, we cannot suspend. So it has to go regular course.
Yeah, that's, maybe we need 6 to suspend.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke?
I got a text about 5 minutes ago from Patty, said she's running late, she's trying, that's all I can tell you.
Well,
Well, if Mr. President,
Ms. Brickway?
if this will stall for that, if you don't mind, I can go ahead and read the report that explains the Spring Grove resolution, if that would be okay with everybody.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
And we'll hope when this House vote gets here.
Okay. For ordinance 2021, I talked to Jennifer about her because it seemed like there was some confusion about this. So basically, what was explained to me is this is a part of Spring Grove Avenue that is ours, but we also share it. So there's certain grants out there that you can go for to improve roads. She said like Vine Street has some area on it, and we haven't done this in a long time. So she's like, that's why there was some confusion. So in September/October of 2020, during COVID, when they were all working from home, JMA went ahead and applied for this grant. So basically, it is part of a comprehensive map of roadways of the county in accordance with Section 450403 of the Ohio Revised Code that's in need of improvement. So these funds are to cover only a portion of the cost for the Spring Grove Avenue. We have filed with the city engineer a copy of the preliminary plans and estimate of costs for such improvements. The county engineer has approved such plans and estimates of cost and found the proposed improvements conducive to the orderly and efficient flow of traffic within and through the county. The Board of County Commissioners has allocated the funds available for such purpose. The next part is detailed plans and statements of the work are to be done and be submitted to the county. Since they approved the work of the project and the county auditor has drawn up a warrant for such amount of the county treasurer payer to the clerk of the city of St. Bernard. So that is for we received $93,000. So this resolution, we have not received it, but they have it ready for us. So this resolution, if council passes it, states that we are more than happy to accept the funds. So our other question is, well then, do we have to match it? She's like, we do not have to match it. So what they'll do next is once we receive the money, I will put it in the O2 Street Maintenance Fund, but the actual money itself I will put into reserves. So that money will sit in there. She will then, with JMA, will go out for other grants. She said one example was SORTA, to pay the rest of the project. So they foresee this area of Spring Grove getting fixed up and it will not cost the village any money. She said if by some strange chance we were not able to get the other grants, then we just give the money back. It's not a red flag against us. So basically, it's kind of like a no-brainer. We can get a street fixed for free, and JMA's doing all the work. So I guess I should talk slower.
Mr. President,
Mr. Berkey.
I called Patty. She hasn't left the hospital yet, so it's going to be 15, 20 minutes before she can get here.
Great.
I don't know. Do we take a short recess, or are
Before
we allowed to?
Before we would go to the short recess, can I have a motion to place ordinance 20 on the table, since that was not discussed at committee of the whole? We need to do that.
Mr. President,
Mr. Tversky.
make a motion to put ordinance 20 on the table.
I'll second that.
A motion by Mr. Tversky, second by Ms. Bettinghouse, to place ordinance number 20, 2021 on the table this evening. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. All right, it is 7:16. At this time, we will take, let's say, a 15-minute break, and we'll see. Hopefully, Ms. Housefeld will get here, so. All right. Bob, we good? Okay. All right. Council will go back into session. I will ask all over again, Ms. Bettinghouse. Members of council, you've heard the first reading of resolution number 6, 2021. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse.
I make a motion to suspend with the second and third reading of resolution number 6, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Mr. Taberky to suspend with the second and third reading of resolution number 6, 2021. Are there any remarks? If not, will you please call the roll on the motion to suspend?
Mr. Taberky?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culverson?
Aye.
Mr. Schultmeyer?
Aye.
Mrs. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mrs. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Members of council, what is your pleasure on adoption?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 6, 2021.
Second, Mr. President.
Motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Mr. Taberky to adopt resolution number 6, 2021. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Taberky?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culverson?
Aye.
Mr. Schultmeyer?
Aye.
Mrs. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mrs. Miller?
Aye.
Mrs. Hausfeld?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Resolution number 6, 2021 is adopted as read. Clerk, will you please give the first reading of ordinance number 19, 2021?
Ordinance number 19, 2021, authorizing and directing the auditor to provide additional appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Members of council, you've heard the first reading of ordinance number 19, 2021. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to suspend with the second and third reading of ordinance number 19, 2021.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Mr. Ray Culbertson to suspend with the second and third reading of ordinance number 19, 2021. Are there any remarks? If not, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council on ordinance 19, 2021? Not, clerk, will you please call the roll on suspension?
Mr. Taberky?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Schultmeyer?
Aye.
Mrs. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mrs. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Members of council, what is your pleasure on adoption?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 19, 2021.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Ms. Hausfeld to adopt ordinance number 19, 2021. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Taberky?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Schultmeyer?
Aye.
Mrs. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mrs. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Ordinance number 19, 2021 is adopted as read. Clerk, will you please give the first reading of ordinance number 20, 2021?
Ordinance number 20, 2021. An ordinance authorizing an agreement between the Village of St. Bernard and the Board of Hamilton County Commissioners relative to the improvement of Spring Grove Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Members of council, you've heard the first reading of ordinance number 20, 2021. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to suspend with the second and third reading of ordinance number 20, 2021.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Ms. Hausfeld to suspend with the second and third reading of ordinance 20, 2021. Are there any remarks? If not, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council on ordinance number 20? If not, clerk, will you please call the roll on suspension?
Mr. Taberky?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Schultmeyer?
Aye.
Mrs. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mrs. Miller?
Aye.
Mrs.
Miss Hausfeld. Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Members of council, what is your pleasure on adoption?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 20, 2021.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Ms. Hausfeld to adopt ordinance 2021. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Taberky?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Schultmeyer?
Aye.
Mrs. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mrs. Miller?
Aye.
Miss Hausfeld?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Ordinance number 20, 2021 is adopted as read. This time, does anyone on council have anything under old business?
Mr. President,
Mayor.
just as a reminder, the CIC actually is rescheduling their next meeting for next Thursday. we will actually, the 2nd, at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. So that announcement will go out. But just as a quick reminder, we are rescheduling for next Thursday.
Thank you. Anyone else under old business? If not, does anyone in council have anything under new business?
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberky?
Jonathan, we talked before. Has the decision been made yet for rent halls anymore or not? Or is that still up in the air?
Mr. President,
Mayor Stucci?
that is being discussed for next year based upon whether or not the obligations that would be on the, I guess, the manager, I'm sorry, not the manager, the actual maintenance position here, and whether or not there would need to be an increase in rental fees for a weekend for that kind of coverage for an adjustment of hours. But it will be discussed. But as of right now, we're just renting to community organizations.
Mr. President,
Berkey?
just an idea, if we're not renting halls, we've only got 5 full-time employees. It's a huge building. Is there any thought of maybe building a smaller city hall, maybe down Long John Silver lot and tear this down, put housing up here? I mean, this place costs a fortune, and gas and electric could be a chance to build a more energy-efficient building.
Mr. President,
Mayor
that
Stucci.
hasn't really been thought of, but we will hopefully be able to have better use of the building and be able to offer more to the residents. Hopefully next year we'll discuss that. But as far as taking on another obligation like what was done for the safety center and whatnot, I think is not a grand idea. I mean, we're already paying for that till 2040. I think building a new city hall would be ridiculous.
Anyone else under new business?
Mr. President,
Ms. Hausfeld?
I first of all, I want to apologize for being late. Thanking everybody for prayers for my mother. She's doing so much better tonight. And I also want to apologize for my attire, because if I knew I was coming right from the hospital to here, I would have never wore this. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been brought to our attention that a couple people will be missing the next committee of the whole, which was slated for December 9th. And we're looking to move that back a week, which would actually help the auditor with her ordinance to decrease certain line items. Is there a motion to make that change at this point?
What's the date we're going to?
The 16th instead of the 9th?
Just an FYI, depending on how my mother's doing, I'm supposed to be going out of town on the 16th. So, but that could cancel because of everything that's going on right now. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up.
And Mr. President,
Yeah.
we have, because that's my year-end ordinance,
Correct.
we have to have 6 people for it to go emergency.
Then why don't we just keep it the 9th? And if we have to have a special to pass it, we'll,
I'm sorry, Mr. President. So on the 9th, we already know we're missing 2?
not two members of council, just one member of council.
Oh, okay, okay,
So
okay,
we'll keep it on the 9th then.
okay.
And if something happens.
I mean, I
then
can get
we'll-
it done by
yeah.
the 9th.
Okay. All right. All right. Is there anyone in the audience this evening wishing to address council? All right. Members, what is council's pleasure on the absent member?
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberky?
make a motion to excuse the absent member.
Do I have a second? I'll second that. Thank you. A motion by Mr. Taberky, second by Mr. Schultmeyer to excuse the absent member. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. All right, so then the next committee of the whole will be Thursday, December 9th at 7 p.m. with a special council meeting at 7:30 to discuss the ordinance for decreasing the appropriations. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Mr. Ray Culberson.
make a motion, we adjourn.
A motion by Mr. Ray Culberson, second by Ms. Hausfeld to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. We are adjourned.
Do committees now.